my fiancé announced. I'm changing your contact name on my phone to roommate until you propose better. I proposed 3 months earlier. She wanted a redo with a bigger ring. I said, that's your choice. Then I changed mine to Ex-Fiancée and made it public on couples apps. When her friends started asking questions. Original post. 31 male, work in commercial HVAC. Not glamorous, but the pay's solid and I'm good at it. Been with my now ex for 4 years. Lived together for 2 of those. I proposed 3 months ago at a little Italian place we've been going to since our second date. Nothing viral. No flash mob. Just me, her, a ring I spent about $4,200 on, 1.1 carat, lab-grown diamond, white gold band. I did my research, and a speech I'd been rehearsing in my truck for 2 weeks. She said yes. Cried. I cried. The waiter brought us free tiramisu. It was the best night of my life. Fast forward to 3 months later. We're at her parents' house for Sunday dinner. Her sister had just gotten engaged about 6 weeks after us. And look, I got nothing against her sister. She's fine. But her fiancé is a financial analyst, and the ring he got was visible from space. We're talking a 2.5 carat oval, platinum setting, the whole 9 yards. Apparently north of $18,000. I know because my fiancé told me. Twice. Then a third time in the car. That night, she sat me down in our apartment and said, and I swear this is almost word for word, I need to talk to you about something, and I need you to hear me out before you react. Never a great opener. She told me she loved me. She was excited to marry me, but she felt like the proposal didn't match the level of our relationship. She said her sister's engagement made her realize she'd been settling for less than she deserved in the moment. She wanted a redo, a proper one, with a bigger ring. I just stared at her, like Jaw on the floor stared. She pulled out her phone. Show me her contacts. My name was already changed, not to Babe or my fiancé, or even just my first name. It said roommate. I changed it this afternoon, she said, and it's staying that way until you propose the way I actually deserve. I asked her if she was serious. She said, dead serious. I showed my mom, and she agrees. I sat there for maybe 10 seconds. Felt like 10 minutes. Then I said, that's your choice. She smiled like she'd won something. I got up, went to the bedroom, and sat on the edge of the bed for a while. Not gonna lie, it hurt. Not the ring stuff. I could not care less about carrots. It was the realization that the best night of my life was, to her, something that needed a do-over. That my speech in the Italian restaurant wasn't enough. That I wasn't enough. So I made my own choice. We've been using one of those couples apps, the kind where you share calendars, grocery lists, little notes to each other. Our profiles were linked. Relationship status visible to friends on the app. I went in and changed her contact name from her first name to Ex-Fiancée. Then I changed our relationship status from engaged to it's complicated. And I went to sleep. By 7 a.m., my phone was going off. Her best friend had texted me. On what happened? 2 of her cousins followed. Then a college friend of hers I'd met maybe once sent me a message that just said, my fiancé, sorry, my roommate, came storming into the kitchen where I was making eggs and said, what did you do? Same thing you did, I said. Except I was honest about it. She lost it. Full meltdown. Told me I was being petty, that it wasn't the same thing, that she did hers privately, and I'd done mine where people could see. I said, you showed your mom. I showed the app. We both made it public. Mine was just more efficient. She called me immature. I told her I wanted the ring back. She said, you're not getting anything back until we talk about this like adults. I said, adults don't rename their partner's roommate as a bargaining chip. She slept at her mom's that night. Update 1. So it's been 4 days since the blow-up, and things have gotten significantly worse. First off, her mom called me. Not to mediate, to lecture. 20 straight minutes about how a real man would want to give the woman he loves the best. She told me her husband, my fiancé's dad, upgraded her ring for their 10th anniversary and that I shouldn't need a decade to get it right. She also said I embarrassed her daughter publicly and that I owed her an apology. I told her, politely, because despite everything, I was raised to respect elders, that her daughter changed my name to roommate first, and that I didn't feel I had anything to apologize for. She said, that was between you two. What you did was for attention. The irony was so thick I could have spread it on toast. Then her sister got involved. Her sister called me and opened with, "I'm not taking sides, but," which is always code for, "I am 100% taking a side." She told me I was being emotionally reactive and that all my fiancé wanted was to feel prioritized. She suggested I look at it from a love languages perspective. I said, "Her love language appears to be carrot weight." She didn't think that was funny. Here's where it escalated. My fiancé started a group chat. Her mom, her sister, her best friend, and two other friends called Operation Redo. I know this because her best friend's boyfriend is one of my close buddies, and he saw it on her phone and gave me a heads up. The purpose of the group chat was literally to strategize how to pressure me into reproposing with a bigger ring. They were sharing screenshots of rings, discussing what price range is acceptable, and this is the part that really got me, planning a girls' night intervention where they'd all sit me down and explain why I needed to step up. My buddy sent me a screenshot. One message from her mom said, "He makes good money. There's no excuse. This is about respect." That one stung because she was right about one thing. I do make good money. About $94,000 a year before overtime. But I also carry student loans, car payments, and I've been saving for a down payment on a house. The $4,200 ring was responsible. It was what I could do without dipping into our future. And apparently that made me disrespectful. Meanwhile, my fiancée came back to the apartment to grab clothes and acted like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "I know you're upset, but when you calm down, we can figure this out together." Like I was having a tantrum, and she was the reasonable one. I told her, "I'm not reproposing. The ring I gave you is honest, and it was real, and if that's not enough, then I'm not enough either, and we should both accept that." She got teary, said I was throwing away 4 years over pride. I said she was throwing away 4 years over a diamond. She left again. That night I sat down and did something I probably should have done sooner. I made a list, not a pros and cons list, just a list of every time over the past 4 years where something I did wasn't quite good enough. The birthday dinner that could have been nicer. The apartment she wished was in a trendier neighborhood. The vacation where she wanted to fly, but I'd budgeted for driving. The Christmas where I got her a Kindle and she'd wanted a designer bag. And I realized this wasn't about the ring. The ring was just the first time she said it out loud. I took the engagement ring from where she'd left it on the bathroom counter. She hadn't been wearing it since the roommate thing and put it in my safe. Then I texted her, "I love you, but I can't keep trying to be enough for someone who keeps moving the bar. I think we need to have a real conversation about whether this is going to work." Her response, "You're being dramatic. My mom is right. You just need to grow up." That was the last text between us for 2 days. Update 2. All right, y'all, things move fast. After 2 days of silence, she showed up at the apartment, not alone. She brought her mom and her sister. The planned intervention I'd been warned about. I opened the door, saw all 3 of them, and genuinely considered just closing it. But I let them in because, again, I was still trying to handle this like a reasonable human being. They sat on one side of the living room. I sat on the other. It felt like a deposition. Her mom started. She opened with a whole speech about how marriage is about sacrifice and how back in her day men understood that providing for your wife meant making her feel like a queen. She said her daughter wasn't asking for the moon. She just wanted a ring that reflected the seriousness of the commitment. I let her finish. Then I said, "With all due respect, your daughter changed my name in her phone to roommate. That doesn't feel like someone who's serious about commitment. That feels like someone who's serious about leverage." Her sister jumped in and said I was twisting things. She said the name change was symbolic and I was taking it literally. "It's literally my contact name," I said. "How else should I take it?" My fiancé then started crying and said, "All I wanted was to feel special." "Is that so wrong?" I said, "You felt special. You said yes. You cried. I cried. The waiter cried. Everyone was special. And then your sister got a bigger ring, and suddenly our moment wasn't good enough." Dead silence. Her mom said, "This is going nowhere. We're leaving. When you're ready to be a man about this, you know where to find us." They left. My fiancé looked back at me from the doorway and said, "You're going to regret this." I said, "Maybe, but at least I'll be able to afford the house. That was Tuesday. Wednesday, I did the thing. I called off the engagement officially. Texted her, called her, told her straight. This is over. Not because of the ring. Because I realize you've been telling me I'm not enough for 4 years, and I just wasn't listening. She didn't respond for 3 hours. Then she sent, fine, I'll come get my stuff this weekend. But here's the thing. She didn't come get her stuff that weekend. Instead, her best friend showed up. Alone. With a very different energy. Her best friend sat at my kitchen table and said, "Look, I'm going to be honest with you because nobody else will. She's telling everyone you broke up with her because you're cheap." That's the story. That's what her mom is posting in the family group chat. That's what she told our friend group. I said, "And what do you think?" She said, "I think you proposed to someone who doesn't know how good she has it." And I told her that, which is why I'm probably getting kicked out of the group chat tonight. Them and a lot. Not gonna lie. Then the fallout really started. A few of her friends, the ones in the group chat, started texting me. Once in a long paragraph about how I'd emotionally damaged her and needed to take accountability. Another said I should at least return the ring because it was given under false pretenses. I didn't respond to any of them. But one thing I did do, and yeah, maybe this was petty, I still had access to the couple's app. We'd never unlinked. So I posted one last note on our shared board, visible to anyone connected to either of us. Sometimes you lose a fiancé and find your self-respect. Fair trade. That blew up. Not virally or anything, just within our mutual circle. People started reaching out. My coworker's wife, who's friend with one of her cousins, told me that the cousin had read the post and said, "Wait, SHE changed his name to roommate?" That's not what she told us. The story she'd been telling, that I was controlling and broke up with her because she expressed her feelings about the ring, started falling apart. Because people started comparing notes. Her best friend had already told a few people the real version. The app post raised questions, and her cousins started asking around. Within a week, I started getting messages from people I barely knew saying things like, "Hey, I heard what actually happened. Sorry, man." Her mom tried calling me one more time. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail that said, "You have destroyed my daughter's reputation over a piece of jewelry. I hope you're happy." I saved the voicemail, just in case. Update 3. Final. It's been about 5 weeks since the breakup, and I want to wrap this up because, honestly, I'm tired of living in it. She came and got her stuff. It was awkward. She brought her dad. First time he'd been involved in any of this. He didn't say much. When she was loading boxes, he pulled me aside and said, "For what it's worth, I think you're a good kid." I told her the ring was fine. Nobody listened to me either. I shook his hand. That was the only decent moment in the whole thing. The ring, she asked for it. I said no. It was a gift conditional on marriage. Marriage isn't happening. The ring stays with me. She threatened to take me to small claims court. I told her to go ahead. She never filed. I ended up selling it online for about $3,100. Not a great return, but I put it toward the house fund, and honestly, it felt like closing a chapter. Now, the consequences. Her friend group splintered. Her best friend, the one who came to my apartment and told me the truth, got cut off completely. They haven't spoken since. The rest of the group chat crew stayed loyal to her for about 2 weeks, and then one by one started going quiet. From what I've heard through the grapevine, once the real story got out, a lot of people couldn't defend the roommate stunt. One of her bridesmaids-to-be apparently said, "I love her, but if my man proposed to me with a bread tie, I'd still say yes because I love him." That got back to my ex, and she was furious. Her sister's engagement? Apparently, that's on shaky ground too. Nothing to do with me. Turns out the financial analyst fiancé had been putting the ring and a lot of other stuff on credit cards he couldn't really afford. They're in couples counseling now. I don't take any joy in that, but it does kind of prove my point about what a big ring actually means. Her mom has been the most persistent. She's still telling family, "I was emotionally abusive." A few people believed it at first. But here's the thing about lying. It only works when nobody checks. And people checked. Between the app post, her best friend talking, and her cousin asking questions, the narrative didn't hold. Last I heard, her mom got into it with her own sister at a family barbecue because the sister said, maybe if your daughter hadn't renamed the man roommate, she'd still have a fiancé. As for me, I'm not going to pretend I'm thriving. Some nights, I still reach for the other side of the bed. 4 years is 4 years. I loved her. Part of me still does. But I also know that I made the right call because every time I doubted it, I'd remember she looked at the best moment of my life and decided it needed a better production budget. I kept the apartment. Lease is in my name. I've been picking up overtime at work. The house fund is getting closer to real. My buddy, the one whose girlfriend showed me the group chat screenshots, he and I have been hanging out more. It's good to have people around who actually have your back. I still have the voicemail from her mom saved on my phone. Not because I'm planning to use it, just because on the days when I wonder if I was wrong, I play it back and remember they didn't see me as a partner. They saw me as a budget that needed an upgrade. And that roommate contact name? I found out from her best friend that she never changed it back. Even after the breakup, even after everything, my name in her phone is still roommate, which I guess means she finally got what she wanted, because that's all I ever was to her.